Well, welcome everyone to kind of a one-on-one intro to electronic case filing, kind of navigating that system with our court and being able to find some information here. As I said, my name is Cheryl, and I'll be kind of guiding you through this today. I wanted to make sure everybody was able to open the documents that we attached to the invitation. There's a couple of them. So there is a class docs folder that you would have had that had a couple of items that we're going to use when we are filing or sampling, kind of sample case that we're going to file in a little bit. And then also there are some handouts in here. One is regarding prepping a PDF so that you know that it'll upload properly into our system. Just some tip sheets on general filing, notice of removal, and adding parties. And then there's also a copy of the actual PDF present or the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be presenting today. All the links in that presentation are live, so keep that as a reference so that you can refer to it in the future and have have access to that when you need it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So as I said, first of all, my name is Cheryl. I'm the trainer and an operations analyst here with the ECF team at the federal court. And my co-presenter today is Cindy. She is a data quality clerk here. And Cindy, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate it. My name is Cindy Abad. I'm the data quality clerk here for the Western District of Washington. And I've been with the court in the clerk's office since 2015. I started in the intake department, so the department or team that directly QCs and assigns cases filed by attorneys through our ECF system. And now I'm at the next level of that where I'm doing data quality checks on that work. And prior to that, I have additional federal government service and yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Cindy. Okay, so just for those of you who may not be as familiar with Teams or have used it in a while, just a couple comments on the system itself. Feel free to use any of these methods if you have any questions or comments. We try and be as interactive as possible, as open as possible. So please feel free to either use that chat feature and type comments in the chat. Cindy will help me monitor that as well. You can use the raise and lower your hand function. You can also use the reactions there at that icon. And then you also have the mute and unmute your microphone. Feel free to do that and just ask a question at an appropriate time. And also, if you have only one screen and you feel like you need to have the presentation on one screen and maybe something we're working on the other screen, feel free to use, you can usually hold down that Windows key and then a right or left arrow, and that'll pin the screen to one side or the other so that you can have two panels on one screen. So if everybody could just give me a thumbs up through the React feature just to show that you guys are with me, and we can proceed on. Perfect. I see a couple of them. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off as we go through the presentation just to save a little bit of bandwidth, but I will hop back on at the end of the presentation. Oh, we have somebody's cute cat on the picture. To start out with, what we're going to be covering today is we're going to be learning about the difference between CMECF and PACER, locating filing resources and instructions, navigating the system itself. We're going to file a motion and other supporting documents. We're going to complete a civil case opening, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about our DQ program or data quality program here at the court. So to start out with, CMECF stands for Case Management and Electronic Case Files. So this is anything that you are filing into the system and adding to your docket. The PACER system is public access to court electronic records. This is basically the functionality anytime you're getting something out of the system, viewing something, pulling a report, anything like that, that is PACER functionality. So PACER is kind of the public interface to the court's CMECF system. The systems are married so that when you log into PACER, you're accessing both PACER and CMECF functionality. But just kind of keep that in mind. They're two systems, somewhat separate, but kind of operating together hand in hand. Um, you may hear me say CMECF or ECF. It's really the same thing. Sometimes just CMECF doesn't quite roll off the tongue, so I'll shorten it a little bit from time to time. And so just starting with some filing resources and where you can get some information and help. First of all, there's our homepage of our website for the court. Again, this is a live link here. If you clicked on this home in the presentation PDF, it'll take you there as well. But the homepage is a great place, a landing page of sorts where you can access a lot of other information, but you can access things like our local rules and general orders, links to our fees and payments information, court forms, court news is posted there. So a lot of great information and like I said, a lot of access to other pages within that website. There's also the attorney page of our court website, which helps you with things like attorney admissions, resources for civil case opening, and other resources for filing as an attorney. And then we've got our judges pages. Each judge has their own separate page. So the judges page will take you to the list of judges where you can click on the judge for your case and it will take you into their page, which will give you their chambers contacts, any specific chambers procedures, sometimes some bio information as well. But basically, each judge can have kind of their own standing orders, their own way of liking things done. So sometimes that's outlined on those pages. So that's always a great place to check out when you start a case with a new judge here. And lastly, there's an e-filing page that can help you with kind of getting started on e-filing, how to e-file. There's some training videos there. I will say some of them are a little bit out of date. And then there's also some answers to frequently asked questions. But those are all great resources if you're, trying to find something and can't. We also have a pretty good search function on our homepage. So if you're looking for something and you can't find it on one of the pages, if you use that search function, that keyword can usually get you to find what you need, but you can always reach out to us as well if you need help. And with that in mind, if you do find that you need help, you can either contact our team, the ECF Help Desk, for technical support. We're here Monday through Friday during court hours. We help with things like if you have issues logging into the account, your account's acting funny, you need assistance, with the technical side of ECF, or if you're not sure, what event to use to file a particular item, those kind of things are things we can help with. And then if you need help, more case-specific help or procedural help, you can reach out to your case administrator. And then those are based on your case, so you could find that information on your judge's page. You can also reach out to the general line for each of those teams. There's a team in Seattle and a team in Tacoma. And if you call the main number, it kind of round robins and someone will be able to help you out there. Anybody, even if it's not your case administrator on that case, any one of the case administrators can help you on any case. So feel free to reach out to them if you have those more procedural or case specific questions. Do you have any questions so far on anything we've covered as far as resources or getting help? Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and proceed on here. Oh, one quick note. I always forget my little note at the bottom there. Please keep in mind that whenever you do call the court for assistance, that the clerk's office staff and other court employees are prohibited by law from giving legal advice or performing any legal services on your behalf. So we will help you as much as we can, but there is a limit to what we can advise you or help you do. So please just keep that in mind. Respect that when you do contact us, we'll do everything we can outside of those boundaries or within those boundaries. So we're going to take a look at the actual CMECF system. So we're going to take a look at the login page, the civil and criminal filing menus, the query, report, utility, and search functions within the system. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that system. Let's see if I can get the right window to pop up. Okay. So when you log into Pacer, we're going to be in a training system, so it's going to look a little bit different. So you'll obviously see this train across the top, which you wouldn't see in the live real system. But we're going to be going ahead and working in there today. So you'll see this, you'll have your login and password entered in. Your client code is, we don't use those in our court, so you will always leave that blank. And then which court you'd like to go to. And because we're in Washington, I just hit the W. It'll take you all the way down to the W's rather than having to scroll through the alphabet. And in the live system, you'll only have one option for the Western Washington Court. This portal is for both our test and train systems. So we have a couple, but you'll just choose the Washington Western District Court link when you log in. We'll go ahead and hit that login. And if you have multi-factor authentication on your account, it will ask for that code. So let me pull that up here. And every time that you log into the system, it is going to ask you for to acknowledge our redaction policy. So every time you log in, you'll just check that box just as a reminder to redact anything that requires it before filing and hit continue. So when you log into the system, it will look like this. Again, it won't have the train across here, and it'll actually be a tan color in the live system. But again, because we're in train, it looks a little bit different. And we'll click on the link to access the system. And you know you're fully logged in when this menu bar appears with all of these options. So you'll notice if you hover over any of these options, a drop-down menu will appear. One thing to notice is if I go ahead and click on civil, all those same options appear just laid out on the screen. So if I hover over this, these are all of the same choices. I very much recommend as you're getting used to the system that you use this method to view the options that you have. It's just easier if you don't know exactly where you're going to kind of see everything laid out. So that's a great option. As we talked about before, we've got the civil and criminal filing menus. These are what we would call the ECF functionality, where you're actually filing things into the system. And then we have our query, reports, and utilities functions, which is that Pacer functionality where you're getting information from the system, whether it's viewing something or pulling a report of some sort, viewing the docket sheet, something like that. So that's kind of where those two functionalities merge within the system. So we do have the civil menu and the criminal menu. And again, this is where you'll file items. And we'll look at that a little bit later when we open a new civil case as a sample. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and start with this query function. So the query is basically where you can look for a case by various criteria. Keep in mind when you're using this functionality that in this particular search, that it is not subject to the 30-page limit on Pacer charges. So you want to make sure that when you put in criteria here that you're not putting in something so large that you're going to get a huge response back as far as data and then end up getting charged for all of that. So just one thing to keep in mind, and they do have a reminder here for you. You can search by your case number, by the case status, by a filed date or a date last entry, the last day something was entered on that case. You can search by nature of suit or cause of action. And you can also search by name. When you are searching by nature of suit or cause of action, you can use multiple criteria. You can search by both nature of suit and cause of action if you'd like. But even within those sections, like most Windows-based software, you can use your control key and highlight multiple items. So if you want to have multiple criteria within your search, you can also use the shift key and highlight a continuous chunk of selections. So that is always available to you if you need to. If you highlight something and you want to unhighlight it, you can hold down the control and click it again and it will unhighlight. So you can use that option as well. But you have a lot of flexibility here on how you want to search. I'm going to go ahead and focus first on searching by name. So I'm going to put in Andre Young, and I'm going to run a query. And you can see that we get a few different Andre Youngs back. You can also see that this report that I received back, my search results, is 1 page, and it's going to give me that Pacer receipt right there. And you'll get that anytime you're viewing anything in Pacer. It will always give you your receipt of charges for looking at what you're looking at. But you can see that I've got an Andre L. Young. I've got an Andre L. Young Jr. I have one. The big difference between this is this one has a period after the L and the other one doesn't. Otherwise, they're pretty similar. Whenever you look by name, you're going to have a designation here, which will either be PTY or ATY. PTY would be a party in a case, whereas ATY would be an attorney. And then for any of the party designations, you'll have a specification of what their role is. So plaintiff, defendant, petitioner, respondent, that'll also be listed. Keep in mind that when you're looking by name through a query, that you're searching for only an instance of that name, not necessarily a specific person. So if I click on this Andre Young, this first one, you'll see that there are several cases here. These could all be the same Andre Young in these cases, or they could all be different ones. So it doesn't necessarily mean, like I said, that there's a single Andre Young and all these cases belong to them. It could be. But just keep that in mind, especially when you get into broader names or more common names that you might find multiple matches for them. Whenever there are multiple matches, you'll get a list like this. I can go ahead and click on that list, and it will take me to this query screen where I can decide now what I would like to do with the case that I just located. And you can see there's various options here. Deadlines and hearings, docket report, any of this kind of stuff are things that you will also find on this reports tab. Here's your deadlines. Oh, I guess deadlines and hearings is a little different here. But you do have your docket sheet here. So I'm going to go back to this one. So you can see if I wanted to look at deadlines and hearings, you can put information in and it will look up that information for that case. But there are various reports that you'll use that you could use here. For the most part, docket report is the one you're going to use the most. And we'll look at that when we're on the report tab specifically. I am going to go back here and you'll notice that, so look and see if when I click on this Andre Young, it just goes straight into this list. And that's because there's only one match for the Andre L. Young with the period after the L. If I have a name that's super specific, maybe even if I come here and I do Young, I do exact match, and I do Andre, and I do an L with a period, and I run that query, it's going to take me straight into that query screen as well, because there's only one match. So you'll only get those lists to kind of narrow down your match if there's multiple matches for what you're searching for. Oopsie. You'll also notice that when I come back to this screen, it's populated in a case number for me, and that's because that's the last case number I looked at. CMECF is super helpful, and it tries to be. So it will always try and plug in that last case number that you used or you were access to. You just want to be careful with this, especially if you have multiple tabs open, that it's not pulling a case number from another tab that you looked at. And you also want to make sure that it's the correct case number in general for what you want to do, especially if I was looking for a party or using this search screen and I didn't realize this popped in. It might, well, it will very much limit your results to include that case number. So sometimes you might run something and be like, whoa, I got no results. If you come up here and clear that out and rerun it, you should get the results you're looking for. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. You do have the option to make this exact match if it is something you want specifically to match. I'm going to go ahead and clear this for a moment. You also have the ability to look just for a partial name. I believe you have to have at least 2 digits in the last name field for it to search. But you can see, because this is a train system, we don't have very many options, but it'll bring up those same options. This is nice if you have, like, you're not sure if they're in there as Dan or Daniel, Danielle, Daniela. You can put in Dan and it will find all of those options. Same with last names. If you put in Jon, it won't only find Jones, but it'll find Joner, Joan-Elise, Joan, Johnston with a, Jon. So anything like that. So it gives you a little more flexibility in searching. And then lastly, you can also narrow it down if you're looking for a particular party or attorney with that name, you can narrow that down as well. So those are all ways that you can search. We're going to look a little bit more at this case number. I'm going to come here and you can see the case number laid out right here. The case number, it looks pretty complicated and detailed, but it's actually pretty simple to decode once you know the secrets. So just as a heads up, this leading 2 digit that you see in our court will always either be a 2 or a 3. The 2 references that it is a Seattle courthouse case, whereas a 3 references that it's a Tacoma courthouse case. The 24 here, it is just the year that this case was filed. The CV lets us know the case type. This case it's civil. And then we have that 50 is just a sequential case number, that this would be the 50th case that was filed in 2024, 50th civil case that was filed in 2024. At the end of your case number, you'll have a hyphen and then some initials. The first set of initials are your presiding judge. If you have a second set of initials there as well, that would be your referral judge. So you would have presiding judge followed by referral judge. So you can always look at that. I'm going to go back to query here really quick and just look at. If you search and there are multiple matches, you'll get a drop down like this, and you can just select the case that you'd like to view. There's criminal cases and each individual defendant. There's civil cases, and you can see those codes here. We have CR is criminal, CV is civil. You'll also see MJ, magistrate judge. There's various codes, but the most you'll see is probably civil that you'll be working with. So just keep in mind if you see multiple cases, you can use that. But you can enter the case number. As long as you know that year and that sequential number, you can type it in just with the 24 and 1 will translate to 24-1 or 24 CV1. You can put in 24-1. It will also read that. I can put in 24 CV1 and it will find it. So you can kind of do any combination there with the year, the number, and then if you want to input that code, you can, with or without hyphens. You don't need the leading zeros. So in this case, you saw that it was, if I do 24-1 again, you can see that it's 00001. I can just put 1. I don't need to put all those zeros. So just as a time saver for you all, you don't need to type in all the dashes and colons and all of that. So any questions so far on the query screen? Are we all good? Okay, then I will go ahead and we're going to look a little bit at the reports screen. And like I said, we've got that docket sheet report. And again, it's going to put in, because the last number I looked at was that 24-1. I'm going to go ahead, actually, I'm going to go back to my query. And I'm going to look back for good old Andre Young. We'll go into an earlier one from this year. So now if I go into reports and I go into my docket sheet, it'll add that case number there, or I can go ahead and type in 26 CV2 and it'll find that same report. I'm going to go ahead and just utilize the selections as they are as a default. Run that report. And there is my docket sheet. Again, you've got your case number here at the top. You can see there's no judge assigned, so I don't have any judge's initials here, but again, they would follow this case number if they were here. And you've got your short title, your case data up here at the top. You've got case flags, which are just codes to kind of let us know if there's certain characteristics of your case. In this case, there's a jury demand. You've got your parties and representation on the right. And then you've got your actual docket sheet down below. All of the links here are actual live links to the documents on that in that case. You can go ahead and click. If I click this one, it's going to let me know I can view document 1 as well as attachment 1. And then if I wanted to, I would leave both of those checked and click view selected. If I wanted to view only one of those, I could uncheck one, or I could simply click on the number here and it would take me directly into that, that document. It's going to give me my PACER fees. To accept those fees, I just hit view documents and it's going to provide that document. And you can see all of our documents have a header here that will include the case number, the document you're looking at, the date it was filed, as well as the page number, running page number. If you also look at, let's see here, if I go ahead and view both of these together, it's going to give me my total PACER charges. It's going to give me the option to view those documents. And now it's got my header. And then if I go to the second document, easier to see on the second page, you can see it's document 1, attachment 1. So 1-1. If there was another attachment, I would have 1-2 and so on. It's a little harder to read on this page here. So you also have the ability to view links from here. When you receive your notices of electronic filing for anything that is filed in the case, you do get one free look, so you would not be charged by PACER if you access it from the link within that notice of electronic filing. So we recommend that you use that link, access the document, and then save a copy to your computer so that you can go ahead and keep that for your records, so you don't need to try and access it again, because the next time you go in, you would get charged per page for that. So just something to keep in mind. But you can also view it from this docket sheet. Any other questions about the reporting and viewing the docket sheet? Okay. Can I get a thumbs up just to know you're all still with me? Awesome, thank you. Great, perfect. Wonderful. Okay, great. Okay, so the next option that we're going to look at really quickly is utilities here. The utilities function, the biggest thing you're going to use here is this maintain your email. If you click on that, you'll see that it has your email address here. If I click on that, it's going to show me kind of my basic criteria or configuration. If I click on this add secondary email address, I can go ahead and add a secondary email address. Go ahead and add that in there. And go. Let me fix that there. Okay, so. Oh, that's why. Okay, because I have, that's my, there we go. That was my primary email, so it was having a fit because they were the same. But when you put in your email address, you can go ahead and configure your choices as far as, do you want notice on this email address per filing, or as a summary request, HTML or text, things like that. And then it will have all of the cases that the attorney, the main attorney account is receiving notice for. You can always add or remove cases. If you wanted to add another case to get notice on, you can add that case here. You can also, so if I wanted to add that, let's say I wanted to add that 241 case, I can type in 241. It'll find that case for me, and I can add that case. And then that case is going to appear in this list here. It's going to automatically default. In this case, the default that we set was per filing. So it's going to default to per filing. But let's say for this particular case, I only want it once a day. I can add that to summary, and it will come down to the summary section. I can do that with any of these cases. I can also send it back if I would like to change it back to per filing. I can do that. I can also click on it and remove it when I no longer want to receive notice on that case. And then you just hit this submit all changes. Anytime you make any change to this or any of your secondary email accounts, you can go ahead and click on that submit all changes, and it will update the system or update your preferences. So just a nice tool you have if you need to add, assistants, paralegals, anybody else to receive copies of that notice or a backup for your free look. So any other questions before we hop into more filing type things? Okay, so before we go into actual filing, I am going to talk kind of the bridge between this and the regular and the filing is that we can use this search function. And I'm going to go ahead and use that a little bit more when we're actually filing. But basically, if you're not sure where to find something, you can always look here. So I'm on the utilities menu right now. I'm going to look for docket because maybe I want to see that docket sheet. So if I click on docket and I search, it's going to tell me how to get where I want to go. So it's going to show me I need to go into reports, which is here, and then into docket sheet, or I can go into reports, civil, criminal reports, and docket activity. I can go in either way. It's also, if I click on these links within the search results, it will take me directly into that item. So it kind of gives you the breadcrumb of how to get there, the map, so that you can find it in future, but it also gives you a quick way to just boom, link right to it. So it's a great tool, and we'll use that a little bit as an example when we're actually filing documents later. So I'm going to hop back to our PowerPoint real quick. And we'll take a look at filing in CMECF. So we're going to look at filing a motion, a declaration, attaching supporting exhibits, opening a new civil case and adding parties to it, and then in filing the initiating documents. So we're going to kind of go through all those processes so that when you are filing in CMECF, you'll kind of have a memory of how to do that. So let me go ahead and hop back into the system. And again, we're going to start out with our filing menu. So we're going to be in those filing menus of civil and criminal, civil case. So we're going to go ahead and use that civil filing menu. And we're going to go ahead and go to, for filing a motion, we're going to want to go into motions and related filings. And then we're going to look under motions. Let's say I wanted to file a motion to dismiss and I wasn't sure where to go. Again, we can use that search function. If I type in motion to dismiss, the problem I'm going to have is it's not going to find any match for me. And the reason is because I've got too much information in my search. So I just want a keyword. In this case, I'll put dismiss and we'll search for that. And now I've got some results. And the reason it didn't find it under motion to dismiss is because it's in the motions section. So it's already a motion. So it's just called dismiss. So whenever you're searching for something, if you use that feature and you're not getting any results, just try and kind of give it that one keyword that you know should be there, and it will find it for you. And again, it's going to tell us we want to go to civil events, then to motions and related filings, then to motions, and then within that dismiss. It's got some other specific items here, and then these are criminal. So we're not in a criminal case. So we want to stick with that civil. So civil, motions and related filings, and motions. I can go ahead and click dismiss here and it would take me right into it, but we're going to go ahead and follow its directions. So we're going to go civil, motions and related filings, and then motions. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. It's going to give me that, go in here and do, finds that one for me. There we go. That is not what I want though. Oops, sorry. I'm going to use my query function for a minute because I did not look at my case number and I apologize for that. Because I want to go into Andre Young's case and file this. So we're going to look at, let's look at 26.3, see if that'll give us what we would like. So motions, I'm going to go 26 CV3. It will find my case. And I knew right away I had the wrong case because I have this little pop-up right here that has your case short title and case number on it. This, if you click on it, will take you to your docket sheet. So unless you want to go to your docket sheet, you don't want to click on that, but you can definitely use that as a reference to which case you're in. It's also going to have your little case flag that we found on the docket sheet at that top right is going to show up here as well. You'll see here there's a note, big bold letters, letting you know that if the motion that you're looking for isn't listed, you want to go ahead and use miscellaneous relief. So we're going to go ahead and we can either scroll down and find dismiss within the motions. You can also start typing here and it will limit it down for you. So I can go ahead and click dismiss and it will show up in this selected event. If I realize this isn't what I wanted to file, I clicked the wrong thing, I can go ahead and click it here in the selected events and it will remove it. And then I can find it again or find the correct one and add it. So don't panic if you click the wrong one. You can just click it again and it'll go right away. So we've got our selected motion here. I'm going to go ahead and click next. It's going to ask if the caption includes a request for oral argument. In this case, we're going to say no, it doesn't. And it's going to remind you to please attach your proposed order unless one is not required by local rule 7B1. So you'll want to check out our local rule to make sure if you need to provide a copy of your proposed order. It's also reminding you that after the filing that you need to email a copy of the proposed order in Word or WordPerfect, basically an editable format, to the appropriate judge with some specific information. That email address would be found on the judge's page on our website, so you should be able to find that information there. And then it also has a reminder that if this is a motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim, that you would want to stop docketing and begin again using that specific event name. One thing to keep in mind when you're filing, if you do need to go back, it's best practice to, rather than use your back browser button, to just go back to the civil menu and start fresh, just because things are happening in the background and it can cause some issues if you go back and forth too much within those filing events. So I'm good. I'm not filing a motion for dismiss for failure to state a claim. I've got my proposed order ready, so I'm going to go ahead and click next. I'm going to go ahead and choose my file. This is going to be my motion to dismiss. And one thing you'll notice in my search bar here, I do have this preview pane. So if you don't have that open, you can click this icon here and that will open it. I do recommend using that because this is the only time you're going to be able to actually see the document that you are attaching before you actually file it. So it's a great way to just make sure you've got the correct document. So I've got my motion to dismiss here. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And you'll see the title of the document will populate right here next to the Choose File button. I'm also going to attach, in this case, my proposed order. Again, I can click on it, make sure it's the right document, and open it. I'm going to also go ahead and label that attachment. So I'm going to label it here as proposed order. And you'll notice there's also a description field. It's tempting to then go, oh, this is my proposed order, and type that in there as well. But the system will read both of these fields in order. So if I were to leave it like this and complete the docketing, my docket would show attachment 1, proposed order, proposed order. So you just want to have one or the other or a combination, but just keep in mind it's going to read left to right all of the information here. So proposed order is plenty for this purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed and click next. It's going to ask me to select the filer, in this case, my client, Andre L. Young, Jr. I'm going to click next. And it's going to confirm that you've properly noted the motion in compliance with Local Civil Rule 7. Again, if you have questions, feel free to check that local civil rule to make sure you are noting it properly. I'm going to go ahead and click next. And in this case, a motion to dismiss is a 28-day motion. So I can go ahead and click on the calendar. I know that's 4 weeks away. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 would be February 19th. So I can add that date and click next. It's going to give me my docket text. I will have the ability, I can make some modifiers on the type of motion, whether it's an emergency motion, an amended motion, anything like that, an interim motion. You've got lots of options here. You don't have to select one. You also have a free text field here if I needed to elaborate on that motion to dismiss. But seeing that it's just a standard motion to dismiss, I'm not going to worry about either of those fields. It tells me who's filed it, which party, my attachment is here, my noting date is here, and then you'll notice that there is that's my login, class inspector, so you can see who filed it. This is the perfect place whenever you're filing something to make sure that you've got the right attorney's credentials. If you file for multiple attorneys, if you check that name, just make sure you've got the right person. If you don't, you can stop, back out, not back out, but go back to your civil menu, log in as the correct attorney, and then refile it so that the correct attorney is reflected in the filing. You obviously want to make sure it's an attorney that's actually on the case that you're filing. So a place to check that. And then once we verify that that all looks good, I can go ahead and click next. It's going to give me my final look at my docket text with any edits that I made. You'll see that there is a note here that's reminding that if you press the next button, you have committed the transaction and you can no longer modify it. And it's also reminding you, have you redacted? Remember, when we logged in, we acknowledged that redaction policy. So we just need to make sure, yep, if anything needed to be redacted, it is. So we don't have anything to redact. So we're going to go ahead and click next. And you'll get to your notice of electronic filing. And keep in mind, whenever you're filing, you have not gotten all the way there until you get to this notice of electronic filing. Until you get that, it is not fully filed and on the docket. This will let you know who all has been received notice. It will also have a link to, this is a link to your docket sheet. This is a link to the document. Up here is also a link to the docket sheet, but it will let you know who filed what when, the docket text associated with it, and who received notice. If there's a pro se party that's not receiving electronic service, their information would be here so that you're aware that you need to print and mail to them. But this is what you would receive in your email when an item is filed on your case as well. So this is just basically the upfront version of that. When you get your one via email, that's where you can click the link for your one free look. So any questions on filing a motion? Okay. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to file a declaration in support of our motion. So I'm going to go back to the civil menu. And again, I'm like, where is the declaration? I'm not sure. It could be in this supporting documents, but we'll just double check with our handy dandy search function. So I'm going to type in declaration. And you'll see we have a couple of criminal events and a couple of civil events. So there's one that's just declaration and one that's declaration non-motion. And if you look at the one that doesn't say non-motion, it's under the motions and related filings. So clearly that's motion related. So that is where we want to go. So civil events, motions and related filings, replies, responses, and supporting documents. So if I go to civil, motions and related filings, responses, replies, and supporting documents, I click on that, make sure that's the right case number, confirm that's the right case, and then I can find my declaration here. Again, I can use this scroll within the list, or I can type here. Once I click on it, it's my selected event, and I can go ahead and click next. Again, I'm going to select the filer as my client Andre Young Jr. I'm going to choose my main document. There's my declaration. Go ahead and open that. I'm going to attach a couple of exhibits here. So I've got exhibit A. I'm going to go ahead and open that. And you'll notice every time I attach something, another attachment line appears. And it will continue to do that for as many as you need. So anytime you attach something, another line appears in case you need it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose exhibit. And again, it would be attempting to say exhibit A, but again, this is going to say exhibit A in my docket text if I leave it like that. So I could either not have anything in category and just type in exhibit A, or I can type in the category of exhibit from the drop down and just put A. And then either way, that would just cause my docket text to just say exhibit A. So you can choose either way to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my exhibit B. And we'll add exhibit C as well. So you can add as many as you need. That's all I need to add for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. I'm going to ask who my declaration is. I'm going to make this the declaration of John Smith. And then it's going to ask which motion this needs to be linked to. If you have multiple pending motions, it will have all of them listed here and you would select the appropriate one. In this case, there's only our motion to dismiss that's been filed on this case. That's a pending motion. So you can go ahead and make sure that that box is checked and you'll click next. Again, you have the ability to amend what type of declaration this is with a modifier there. The rest of the docket text is set. You can see declaration of John Smith filed by plaintiff Andre L. Young Jr. regarding number 2 motion to dismiss. And then it has my 3 attachments and my filer information. So all that looks good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. Again, my final docket text, reminder that this is my last chance to modify, and reminder to redact. So everything looks good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And there is my notice of electronic filing. So in this case, if I want to go ahead and view that docket sheet, now I can see everything. The complaint was previously filed back on the 13th, but I can see here's my motion to dismiss. And here is my declaration. So everything is here. I can access anything, any of these documents from the docket. Also, keep in mind, anytime we file anything in support of a motion, you're going to link it within, you want to make sure you link it within that docket to the correct motion. So, so that it always refers back. If I click this 2 here, it would take me to the same place as clicking the 2 here as far as viewing that motion document. But that also helps the court when Chambers is reviewing your briefing. If everything has that motion related, they can pull it all up together. It makes it much easier for them to make sure they've got everything for briefing. So any questions on filing those supporting documents or the declaration? Okay. Then the next thing we're going to look at doing is opening a civil case, a new civil case. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our civil menu. And you're going to use this attorney case opening option. So the first thing you're going to notice is it's going to let you know what you need to have handy. You want to make sure you have your civil cover sheet. And you do have a link here to our attorney case opening guide. So you can always open that and have that handy while you're filing. But yeah, so you need to make sure you have your complaint and your civil cover sheet. That's the bare minimum. And as well as if you need help, there is a note here as far as reaching out for help. It looks like we have a question in the chat of do we need to file exhibits separately? Generally, that is preferred. We do see some people file them a document with multiple exhibits in it, but generally it is preferred to file them separately if possible, so that they can be viewed separately. And that way too, if something needs to be sealed or amended or anything else, it's easier to do it with that particular document than having to apply it to everything in that attachment. And thank you, Anna. Yes, go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, hey, Cheryl, this is Cindy. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify maybe the information about that question about filing exhibits separately, when we're indicating that, they could be, if you want, filed separately as in attachments to the entry and the docket event that you're using, such as the declaration, and then the attachments would be, as Cheryl showed, Exhibit A1, A, B, C. Not that you would use an event and have one event have an exhibit, and then the next event have an exhibit, and then the next event, like using separate filing events to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yes, Anna pointed out, or Anna, that the site does provide a lot of prompts to help with the filings. We do try and make it as user-friendly as we can, and we're always looking for feedback. That's part of the reason that we do trainings like this. That's part of the reason that we want your feedback. And when we talk about our quality control, that's part of that as well, is to kind of see where help is needed, where clarification is needed. So we do try and do that a lot. So we're opening our civil case. We know where to go if we need help. We have our complaint in our civil cover sheet, and those are the documents that are in your class docs folder. If you want to open those to view them, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So there is my civil cover sheet and my case complaint. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pin, oopsie, that is not the right window. Let's try that again. There we go. I'm going to pin that to the one side so that I can have both of these going at once. Oopsie. Give myself enough space to be able to read it. There we go. So we're going to go ahead. We've got what we need. We've got our complaint and our civil cover sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. The first question is, which office does this go to? And that's going to give you a choice of Seattle or Tacoma. It does have a section here that lets you know that that office is determined by the county in which the defendant resides, has a principal place of business, or where the claim arose. So if I'm looking at my civil cover sheet, I can look at my defendant, and they are in King County right here. So if you're not sure, you can always open. There's a little map button here, and this lets you know the counties in red or pink are Seattle. The counties in light green are Tacoma. So King County here would be the Seattle courthouse. So I can go ahead and select Seattle. It is a civil case. It's only going to give you that option because you're in civil case opening. And then it lets you know if it's some information about removal cases. This is not a removal case, so we don't need to worry about that. So we're going to go ahead and click next. Next, we're going to be looking for some case data, which can be found on your civil cover sheet. So the first is your jurisdiction. So if I look in my jurisdiction section here, we can see that this is a federal question jurisdiction. So we're going to use that. You can see what the other choices are here. If more than one jurisdiction applies, we're going to prioritize them in the order of this list. So if it's a federal question, but it's also a government defendant, you would use government defendant. So you always want to use whatever's highest on this list that applies. In this case, we just have federal question. And then you've got your cause of action and your nature of suit. So our cause of action is right here. You can see it's very small, sorry. It's 28:111331 federal question. So there's a couple ways I can search for this. I can either scroll within this list. I can type in 28 and then go to the 1331. Is somewhere here. There we go. There's a lot of 1331s. You can also use this filter though. So if I type in 1331, it's going to take me straight into all of the 1331s and nothing else. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 28:1331 federal question. Nature of suit, same thing. I can scroll through the nature of suits, but I can look here. I'm at nature of suit 360, other personal injury. So I can use that filter, put in that 360, and it's going to pull up just that one choice for me. So it makes it a little easier than scrolling and scrolling to find the right one. I did notice though that since I've got a personal injury as my nature of suit, I can make my federal question a little more specific with this personal injury, federal question, personal injury. You don't have to do that. It's an option, but you can always, make it a little more specific if you'd like. No worries either way. This is an original proceeding. Obviously, if there's a removal case, that is an option for those cases. But in this case, we're an original proceeding. And then it's going to ask about citizenship of the plaintiff and defendant. And if you look on your civil cover sheet, you'll notice that there is a note that lets you know that this is for diversity cases only. So you only need to worry about that citizenship if it's a diversity case. We are a federal question case, so not diversity. So we don't have to worry about that citizenship at all. And then it's going to ask about jury demand. So again, you can see both here on the civil cover sheet, as well as on my complaint, that we do have a jury demand here. So that would be a yes. We're going to say plaintiff because we don't know if the defendant is going to want to make a jury demand. Is it a class action? It's also going to be here on your document. Check if this is a class action. No check mark, so no class action. And then county again. And you're like, you just put in the county. Well, this county is a little bit different. So this is the county as determined by the first listed plaintiff in all actions. So we're going to go up to our plaintiff. Our plaintiff is in Pierce County. So this is going to be Pierce County here. And then you've got your fee status is paid and your fee status date. The only reason you would ever change this really is to be in pending. If there's an IFP, if you're filing for permission to proceed in form of papyrus, you could file that on behalf of your client and use that pending IFP. But in this case, we're just going to have a standard fee paid case and click next. And this is just the system setting up the case in the background. So we're just going to go ahead and click next again. And then it's going to ask if your initial filing includes a temporary restraining order or motion for vessel arrest or any other emergency motion. If it does and you click yes, it will give you some more instructions about how to file that. You also want to make sure that you're following the guidance on our website as far as filing those types of motions. In this case, we don't have anything like that. So we're going to say no and click next. And then we're going to get to where we can add parties to our case. So I'm going to hop back into my PowerPoint real quick, and we're going to go over a few things about adding parties in our system. So to start off with, there are a few basic do's and don'ts. I know every court kind of has their own way of doing data entry in their cases, particularly with party names. So for our court, you just want to remember that you want to make sure you add all parties on the complaint. The only caveat to this would be if you have a case that has a ton of, if you've got 100 defendants or something like that, give us a call at the court and we'll let you know how many you need to put in. Because if you try and get them all in, your system in Pacer is probably going to time out before you can complete the filing. So, just give us a shout and we'll work with you on that. But otherwise, make sure you get everybody all parties on the complaint entered in, and you want to make sure you add them in the same order that they're listed on the complaint. And you want to add them exactly as they're shown on the complaint. If you have a middle name, put the middle name. If you have a middle initial, put the middle initial. If you have a generation, senior, junior, anything like that, you want to include that as well. And lastly, you want to make sure that you add any party text or aliases for those individuals or companies. And then as far as don'ts, we do not enter all names in all caps in our court. And we don't use any punctuation in names. So no periods or commas in the party names. The only caveat to that is if you have like Amazon.com as your company name, you could leave the dot in .com because that is actually part of the company name of Amazon.com. But you wouldn't have ABC company, comma, Inc., period. You would not have the comma or the period there. It would just be ABC company space INC, and that's it. So no punctuation in the names. An apostrophe in a name is okay. You would not enter any addresses for non-pro se parties. So anybody represented by attorney, no addresses, phone numbers, or anything like that get entered in. And then you want to make sure, especially when putting in party names, that you do not use that back browser button. It can create issues. It can clear what you've put in. So that's one of the places that you absolutely want to make sure you don't utilize that back browser button. Hyphenated last names, I believe, is fine. Cindy, can you confirm that?
Yes, that's correct. If they're using a hyphenated last name, put the hyphen in.
So good question.
Yeah.
And then just as a couple of resources for you, if you need assistance with putting in party names, you can see at the bottom of this slide, and again in the PDF that attachment that I sent, these are live links to our standards for entering party names, as well as a kind of a video instructional video on putting in party names. So just a couple of resources there for you as well. So to look at this a little more closely, when you're looking at party names, here is like what the top of our complaint looks like. So when we're looking at party name, we're looking at the first, middle, last name, and generation of an individual or a company name as listed on the initiating document. So in this case, Andre L. Young Jr., Doctors Clinic Inc., and John Doe's 1 through 3 would be our party names. When we talk about aliases, obviously, those are another name that a person or business is known by. It could be an AKA, a DBA, a FKA. It could be some kind of a representative for an estate or an agent, something like that. So in this case, our party aliases would be DBA Doctors Company, would be our alias for Doctors Clinic Inc. And lastly, party text. When we're referring to party text, it's additional text that describes an individual or business, including ranks or titles. So again, for our complaint here, we would be looking at Sergeant for Andre L. Young and a Washington Company for Doctors Clinic Inc., which is what we would call party text. So any questions on the party information so far? Okay, so let's go ahead and hop back in. Oops, somebody else said something. Well, and this is, yes, you see two in the plaintiff's name on the actual document, but you won't put those in the system. So someone just asked about, it was stated there are no periods or commas, but I see two in the plaintiff's names. So yes, they are on the document, and that's okay. We just don't put them in the system. So when we get to the system, we'll get back to here. So now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to pull up the complaint here. So we have our names in front of us. So first it'll automatically have one party set up, or you can click add new party, but it doesn't really do anything. So we're going to go ahead and put in our first party's name. So putting them in order, we're going to start with Andre Young, and I'm going to type it just in case in all caps, Andre L. Young. And I'm going to go ahead and search. And you'll see that we have a few different results that came up. There's an Andre L. Young Jr. at the top. There's an Andre Lewis Young, an Andre L. period Young Jr., and an Andre L. Young. So we know just by looking at this that the Andre Lewis Young does not match our name here, and the Andre L. Young without the junior does not match our name here. So it's going to be one of these other two, but we notice that this one has an L period, and we just learned we don't put that period in. So we're going to utilize this very first one, Andre L. Young Jr., with no punctuation. And we're going to go ahead and select that party. And you'll notice it has the name up here. And yes, it does put that comma in there, but we're not putting the comma in. It's okay. So we have our role as our plaintiff. So that is correct. Pro se is no, because they are our client. And then you'll see that those first two, role and pro se, apply to all parties. You want to make sure those are answered for all parties. The fields outlined in red should only be completed if the party is pro se. And again, we talked about we don't put in any addresses for non-pro se parties. So since this is a non-pro se party, we don't fill in any of that red. So I've got my party here, and I'm going to go ahead and add them. But I just realized, oh no, we have some party text for this party, this sergeant, right? So how would I fix that? We call this here the participant tree. So you can kind of see it'll build out as we go. And within that, there are all of these icons. And if you look at the end of Andre's name, there's a little pencil. And if I hover over it, it says edit party. So I can go ahead and click that. It will take me back into Andre L. Young's information. And you'll see that there's a field here for party text. So I can go ahead and type in that sergeant there. And then I can go ahead and save my changes. If I had an alias, you see there's a little person with a plus that I could add an alias. Same with attorney, there's a person with a plus. Now I do have, here is my information, but I also have co-counsel. Perry Mason is helping me out on this case. So I can go ahead and click add attorney. And I can do search by two ways. I can search by Perry Mason's bar number. And Perry Mason would show up here and I could select him that way. I can also type in Perry Mason's name and search, and Perry Mason will show up. So you can search either way. Anybody who is admitted to our court should be showing up here. You do not want to enter in any pro hoc vice attorneys. They need to be admitted separately and then they'll be added to the docket later. So we have Perry Mason here. I'm going to go ahead and select that attorney record. And you'll see there's a note here, do not edit the attorney's contact information. If the information is incorrect, you'll need to go through PACER and file a notice of change of address, and then we'll update it that way. So you want to make sure you can see you can't even go in really and edit anything here. So if they're not pro hoc vice, the lead attorney is really your choice if you want to say yes or no. Designation, we are retained. And you want to make sure that notice is yes, so that that attorney that is receiving notice on all filings in the case. So everything looks good there. So I'm going to go ahead and add that attorney, and you'll see he's added to our participant tree here. If something needed to be edited, again, I can go ahead and hover over that pencil and edit the attorney. There's also a delete if you needed to delete someone. So there's aliases, corporate parents, and attorney that you can add through those icons. So we've got our plaintiff. That's our only plaintiff we're going to add to the case. So now we're going to go ahead and start adding our defendants. So you can see we're in an attorney screen right now. We just click add new party and it'll bring up that search box again. So we're going to look for Doctors Clinic Inc. No period, no comma. And we're going to search. And again, you can see we have two different Doctors Clinic Inc. This one has Inc. period, so we know that that's not the one we want. We're going to go ahead and put in Doctors Clinic Inc. If you're searching and you have a company that is not in the system, you can create a new party. It will basically take you to this same screen, and you'll just complete that plaintiff and all of that as well. So it'll just put that name, whatever name you added up here. So just always make sure if there is a match, use that match. If there's not a match, you can create a new one. And in this case, we're going to make sure we change this to defendant. Again, we don't know if they're pro se or not. So we're going to leave that as no until they appear or someone appears on their behalf. And then we do know on this one, we do have party text as well, right? So we have a Washington company from our complaint. So we've got that. We also know that they are a corporation, so we're going to click yes. And then we're going to go ahead and add that party. And then in this case, we know we also have an alias for this business. So we're going to go to alias, the little person with a plus to add them. We're going to put in either the last name of a person or the company name. So Doctors Company. And we have a match. Again, if you didn't, you could create a new. I'm going to go ahead and select the one that's here. And then you'll see you've got your information here, and then you've got a whole slew of types of aliases. In this case, it's a DBA. And we're going to go ahead and add that. And again, it's added to our tree here. And then we're going to now go ahead and add John Doe's 1 through 3. So I'm going to click add new party. Doe's 1 through 3. John. And if I don't put in the Does 1 through 3, I'm just going to search John Does first, you're going to get all the variations in our system of Does. So if you limit it to 1 through 3, and again, you can put that dash in there for 1 through 3. That's not considered punctuation per se. You'll see we have John 1 through 3 and John and Jane 1 through 30. So we're going to go ahead and select the one that matches our case. Again, adding a new party if we needed to. Select that. Again, this is going to be a defendant. We don't know if they're pro se. And we're going to go ahead. We don't have any party text or information for these folks, so we're just going to go ahead and add them as a party. So now you can see our tree has kind of grown here. If ever things aren't expanded, you can use these little expanders here. You can also use, if it tends to be all closed up, you can always click this expand all and it will list it all out for you. So lots of options there. Any questions so far on adding parties? Okay. And some of you may have noticed that I didn't add myself as an attorney for my client, Andre Young, even though I am on the complaint. You can add yourself, but you don't have to. When we file our initiating document, since I'm going to be filing it with my credentials, it can automatically add me to the case at that point. So you don't have to waste your time creating, searching for and setting up and adding yourself. Again, you can, but you don't need to. So I'm going to go ahead and hold off on that. All of my parties look like they're in there. They all look correct. So I'm going to go ahead and create my case. So you'll get a note here letting me know that you'll want to still file your initiating document, your lead event, and pay the filing fee. It's also reminding you that the case is not actually open until the complaint is filed and the filing fee is paid. There's also a note about your case number and that you want to write it down so that you have a reference number. So in this case, 266 is going to be our case number. And again, we know it's going to be 23 or 26 CV6, but we will get there when we get to the next step. Can you edit the new created case? Marie, can you expand on what you mean by edit? Editing names or editing the actual case data? You can. It will give you an opportunity when you are filing your lead event. It will ask you if you've added all parties. If you realize that you forgot someone or you didn't add them correctly, you can say no, and it will take you back in to edit those names. And then you can start again with docketing your lead event. So it does give you a chance with names. If you have something in the actual kind of like case data from your civil cover sheet that you did incorrectly, you'd probably want to contact the court and we would be able to help update that or correct that information for you. I would recommend in most cases, unless it's something that will affect, that's a major thing that will affect the type of case you're filing, that you can continue filing. And then once your case is filed, give us a shout. If it's something that would affect very much the type of case you're filing, I would give us a call before you file that lead event. Does that answer your question? Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We've got our notes. I made a note of our 266 case number. So it has a link here, right here to docket your lead event. You can choose that link, or you can go into, if you need to gather your complaint and all that, or do anything else, or go to lunch, anything, you can always come back, come to civil, and then you see this complaints and other initiating documents. That takes you to the exact same place as that button that said docket lead event. So you can do it either way. You can do it immediately from that other link, or you can come back here. I'm going to take one quick moment and I am going to log back into Pacer because sometimes I it gets a little, it's because I'm in it for so long when we're training, it gives me a minute to, it wants me to, it times me out when I get to the payment part. So I'm going to just log in from scratch real quick. Bear with me. Just to make sure we don't have that problem. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to go in and file our complaints or other initiating documents. We've got our case number. It will, if I hadn't have logged out and logged back in, it would probably be populating your case number, but I'm going to go ahead and type it in and it's going to find it for me. And we're going to go ahead and click next. Again, you can check to make sure it's the right case up here at top. Click next again. And now it's going to give me what lead event we want to file. In this case, we're filing a complaint. So I can go ahead and click complaint. Again, if I click the wrong thing, I can unclick it, click complaint, make sure the right one is selected, and then just proceed to the next screen. It's going to ask us to select the filer. In this case, the filer is my client, plaintiff Andre L. Young Jr. And it's going to give you a reminder to please make sure the account that you are using, whoever's credentials you're logged in with, either matches at least one signature on the document that you're filing, or is an attorney who is appearing in the case. So as long as one of those two things is applicable, then you're good to go. If you realize that you have different credentials, again, this is the time to log out and log back in with the correct credentials. So since I am my signature is on the document and I am appearing, I can go ahead and click next. And this is where it's going to remind me that the association for me to this case doesn't yet exist. And so it's just saying, should we create that association? Should we add me to the case? And so as long as I leave these boxes checked and click next, that is what's going to add me as an attorney to this case. So that's why I don't need to do it at that step of adding parties. So now it's going to ask who we are filing against. I can either select, I can hold down the control key and select my defendants here, or I can go ahead and just click all defendants. Either way, and then I can go ahead and click next. And this is where, in response to your question, Marie, that it'll ask if we have added all parties in this filing. If I say no and hit next, it's going to take me back to that party screen where I can add more parties, save them, and then I would start over with filing this complaint. In this case, we have added everyone. So we're going to go ahead and say yes. And remember, it's letting you know you're responsible for adding all parties. So now we get to our main document, which in this case is our complaint. So we're going to go ahead and choose our file. And you'll see I've got my new case complaint. And here is my new case complaint. This is the one we're looking at, Sergeant Andre L. Young, Doctor's Clinic. Everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and click open. And then we can choose any attachments. So we know we need to file at least our civil cover sheet. Actually, I have the one specifically for this one. Here we go. Here is our civil cover sheet that we've been working off of. So I can go ahead and attach that. And again, I'm going to use my drop down for civil cover sheet, so I don't need to put in any description. Let's say in this case, I want to go ahead and add an attachment as well, an exhibit. I can go ahead and add exhibit A here. If I had anything else to attach, I could do that now. I don't, so I'm going to go ahead and click next. And it's just reminding us any attorney filing electronically must pay by credit card. You can accept the filing fee amount of $405 by pressing the next button. And it's letting you know clicking next will send you to your Pacer account where you'll make your payment. And then once complete, it will bring you back to CMECF. And just one more reminder that filing is not complete until you reach that notice of electronic filing screen. So don't think once you make your payment, you're all done. Because until you hit that notice of electronic filing, it's not on the docket. So we're going to go ahead and click next so we can proceed and make our payment. It's going to let us know it's taking us to Pacer. It's going to ask for my password. And here's my account information, my payment amount. I've got my saved credit card in there. So we're going to go ahead and click next. Again, account information, payment details, and then which email I want that receipt sent to. If you have an accounting department or an assistant or a paralegal or another attorney that you want to have get a copy of that receipt, you can go ahead and add any emails that you want here, just I believe separated by a comma or a space, and then go ahead and authorize the payment and submit it. And then you will get an email in your email box that lets you know that that your payment has gone through, so you have a record of that payment. And you can see now that once we made that payment, it brings me right back into CMECF. And so it's going to ask me, does my complaint include a jury demand? Yes, it does. So we're going to go ahead and click that. Click next. And then we have some more reminders. If you are filing on behalf of a company, there are some reminders about corporate disclosure statements and diversity disclosure statements. Since we're filing on behalf of an individual, we don't need to worry about that. But you want to make sure you keep that in mind if you do have a company as a client versus an individual. So we're going to go ahead and click next. And then again, we have complaint. We do have a little bit of room to elaborate on that if we feel the need to, but a complaint against all defendants with jury demand. It's going to import my receipt number from Pacer for my payment. And then it's letting me know that I was added to the case for my party, my client, and it was filed by my client. It's got my attachments, my civil cover sheet, my Exhibit A, and then it's got my initials here to know that I'm the one that filed this. One thing I will say is at this point, if you realize that you made a mistake, once you make that payment, just complete filing it and call us. Because otherwise, if you stop and you try and start again, it's going to ask you to make that payment again. And we don't want you to have to do that. So at this point, if you've gotten this far and you realize there's a mistake, just complete the filing and we will go through and we will take care of, fixing that, working with you to fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And again, it's going to give me my final version of that docket text. It's going to remind me that this commits it if I press next, and a reminder if I've redacted. Go ahead and click next again. I've got my notice of electronic filing, so now I know that my case has actually been filed. And if I want to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab. I can close that map. Here is my docket sheet. So I've got all my case information, and here's that complaint actually filed on the docket. So anything, any other filings would just be listed down below, but you can see everybody is there. It added me as an attorney. So it did take care of that for me. Any questions you all have on case opening, or a thumbs up if it's good? You're good with that? I got a thumbs up. Everybody else good with it? Great. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to hop back into our PowerPoint. We've got a few more things to cover. Anybody have any questions on docketing or any of the items that we docketed, the process, the system, before we move on? Okay, and we'll go ahead and move on. So the last thing we wanted to kind of talk about before we go into some general information is our data quality initiative, or DQ, that we have here at the court. So our data quality initiative, basically the goals of this program are to improve training curriculum like this, to improve the functionality of the system, and to provide feedback in real time to you all and to employees. So basically, how this will affect you is that you might get an occasional email that you don't need to do anything. It's just letting you know. So maybe something was entered incorrectly and we took care of fixing it, or maybe something, you had an incorrect noting date, something like that. It's basically just a heads up. Hey, we took care of this for you, but just for future reference, this is how, it's supposed to be done, things like that. Just an email. I know some people feel like when they get the email from the court, it's like we're really slapping your wrist. It's not at all. It's just part of this program to help everybody do a better job and everybody to kind of know the system a little better. So please never take them personally. We're not mad at you. We're just sharing information. Um, and then you might get a notice, a docketed notice to filer in a case. Those do require some action. It's basically something that we can't fix on your behalf. So it might be that something is missing, maybe a signature is missing, maybe an attachment that's required is missing, something like that. So you might get something like that. Again, it's not to shame you or to make you feel like we're angry with you for missing something. We all make mistakes. It's just to give you a heads up that something needs to be done. So if it's an email, generally no action is required. If it's a docketed notice, then that just lets you know that there's something you need to take care of. Keep in mind that, as I was told when I was hired here, 90% of what is done in the system can be fixed, corrected, what have you, even probably 95%. Uh, and so, don't stress if something isn't quite right. We can generally go in and fix whatever needs fixing. So it's never too much of a crisis, or almost never. And then lastly, we may add new filing events if we find that that what we have in the system right now doesn't meet the needs for something that's getting filed often. We might add a new filing event. And same when we talk about improved functionality, as one of the questions mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of messaging, as you notice, and reminders as you go through to file things. So a lot of that is based off of this data quality, right? We've noticed that people forget to redact. So now at the end of every filing, it says, hey, have you redacted, right? Things like that. This helps us to make the system a little more user-friendly and a little more comprehensive for you all to help it be easier, more efficient, and more user-friendly for you to get what you need done, and hopefully in an efficient manner. So any questions about our data quality program? Okay. So we're going to just pop in and look at a little bit of news, what's new around the court right now. I'm going to go through a few things. These are things that you would find on our homepage of our court in the news section. One, there is a scam that is recently posted about on January 6th, related to jury service and arrest warrants and people impersonating the court. So just so you're aware of that, you can always share that with clients. There is, again, links to all of the actual announcements on this page in your attachment. There is an in memoriam for our Judge Dimmick, who passed away just around Christmas time. She was, I believe, 96 years old when she passed. She was quite the trailblazer. It's if you have a moment, it's a very interesting watch. It's a video in memoriam, and kind of talks about her career and what she accomplished. And she was very ahead of her time. If you can imagine, being an attorney when she started out was not an easy place for a woman to be. So she really did some amazing things. She was also integral in the design and function of the courthouse that was built, that we currently operate out of. So it's a very interesting presentation. We also have a general order regarding immigration habeas petitions that came out in in December. And this is handling the 2241 habeas cases, which we're seeing kind of an uptick of. I'm not sure if anyone in your law firm handles those, but definitely something to take a peek at. We also have guidelines and information on our website for opening those cases and handling those cases. We have a couple of messages from Pacer that we've shared regarding their service center and multi-factor authentication and call wait times. I don't know if you all have your accounts on multi-factor authentication yet. I think they're still trying to get those all finished. Just keep in mind they've asked that unless you've been asked to set up multi-factor authentication or prompted by the system, that you don't need to do that yet. I think people were jumping the gun and it was causing their service times and their call hold times to get crazy long. So then we have some proposed amendments to local rules that were posted back in October. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. And then we also had another, back in September, another fake website scam that was impersonating the Central Violations Bureau that we wanted to share a heads up about. We do have an ECF newsletter that we no longer publish new issues, but you can access our past issues on our website. So if you're looking for anything that might be contained in those newsletters, you're more than welcome to use this link to visit that archive. And then lastly, another link to our homepage of our website. I created this before the first training session with your team last week. And so a couple things have been announced since this training presentation was created. One, we have a new clerk of court. Joshua C. Lewis is our new clerk of court as of January 10th. So he is starting with us. Well, he started with us last year, but he is now the acting official clerk. So that's exciting news for us. And then also, as I mentioned, those proposed amendments to local rules that came out in October, on October 6th, last week, those were finalized and adopted. You can find those changes and those rules on our court website. And actually, I can go ahead and I go to our court website. If I go into the local rules and general orders, you can see the local rules and general orders here. And that will have all the changes in it. There is also, you can go to this archived local rules for a red line comparison chart. So if you want to see the local rules adopted on 113, there's a red line comparison chart. So if you're familiar with our previous local rules, this will walk you through kind of what the specific changes in those rules are. I think the most applicable to all of you would be probably local rule 7 and changing when those proposed orders are required and things like that. So I would definitely take a peek at these if you're not familiar with them. But that is the biggest one, but you can see all of the different local rules here that were to some extent amended. And you can also see the same in our local criminal rules if you work with any criminal defendants as well, that those are there. But the final version, and then you can go to the archived to visit that red line version. So some new and exciting changes there as well. And so lastly, just to kind of give you a few more places to get assistance. Again, this is our court website. This is our CMECF help desk email, CMECF help desk phone number. And then we do have a QR code here. Also, Cindy, if you could drop that link in our chat for this survey. We do ask if you have a minute, if you could take this quick survey. Thank you, Cindy. Just to let us know how you liked this training, if it was helpful, if you have any suggestions for future trainings, all of that. It helps us kind of hone these in and find out what's helpful and what's not. That's a huge help to us. And we're here if you have any questions, if you need help as you're filing anything, feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. If you guys have any questions at all now, please feel free to either type it in the chat or just unmute yourself, raise your hand, whatever, and we'll hang out for a little bit and answer any questions that come up. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
You bet.
And Cynthia.